Alright, so today we're jumping into a classic play that basically flips the script on everything we think we know about war and romance. We're talking about George Bernard Shaw's Arms and the Man. It is a war story for sure, but probably not like any you've ever seen.
So let's get right to the heart of it, because this is the brilliant, kind of weird idea the whole play is built on. I mean, forget about guns and grenades. What if a soldier's most important piece of equipment was a stash of chocolate creams? It sounds funny, right? But it's this one idea that sets up absolutely everything.
So what kind of play are we even talking about here? Well, it's what's known as an anti-romantic comedy. And that's really just a fancy way of saying that Shaw is about to take all those big, dramatic ideas about heroic soldiers and epic, higher love, and just completely, hilariously pick them apart.
Okay, so the scene is set during the Serbo-Bulgarian War, back in 1885, and the story starts in a world that is just soaked in these romantic illusions. That's really the core problem here. You've got a whole cast of characters who are basically drunk on fantasies about heroism and perfect storybook love.
And here are our stars of that fantasy world, Raina Petkoff and her fiancé, Sergius Saranoff. Now, on the surface, they're the picture-perfect couple. They talk a big game about their higher love, but you quickly realize it's all an act. It's a performance they're putting on for each other and for everyone else, full of hot air and not much else.
And this quote, this is the absolute peak of the delusion. Raina is just completely obsessed with her fiancé Sergius, who's just come back from the war. And why? Because she heard he did something incredibly brave. He led this amazing cavalry charge. For her, this is it. This is proof that he's a true romantic hero, straight out of a novel, not, a real messy war.
But that perfect little bubble they're all living in? It's about to get a massive dose of reality. The solution to all this romantic nonsense comes crashing in, literally, in the form of a very practical and very unwelcome guest.
So, just picture it. Raina's in her bedroom, dreaming about her amazing hero, when suddenly an enemy soldier scrambles in through her balcony window, running for his life. But this isn't some dramatic showdown. This guy, Captain Bluntschli, is just tired, and he's starving. He's way more interested in finding something to eat than in having a fight. This, right here, is our chocolate cream soldier.
And this is where the fun really begins. Bluntschli just starts tearing down everything Raina thinks she knows about war. He tells her that, yeah, he carries chocolates instead of extra ammo. Why? Because food keeps you alive. That's not being a coward, that's being a professional. He explains that real, experienced soldiers know it's about survival, and that those heroic charges she loves so much, they're usually just idiotic blunders made by inexperienced officers.
So Bluntschli's arrival is like the first domino to fall. The rest of the play is just this masterclass in watching all these illusions get shattered, one hilarious, embarrassing truth at a time. And Shaw structures this takedown so perfectly over the 3 acts. In Act 1, the intruder arrives and brings reality with him. Then in Act 2, the supposed heroes come home, and we start to see the huge cracks in their perfect facade. And by Act 3, well, that's when all the truths come pouring out and reality is served up for everybody. And here it is, the punchline to Sergius's big moment of heroism. It turns out Bluntschli was on the other side of that battle, and he reveals that Sergius's valiant charge was actually a ridiculously stupid move that should have gotten everyone killed. The only reason it worked? Pure, dumb luck. The enemy soldiers had accidentally been sent the wrong ammunition for their guns. So much for glory, huh? And this just pulls back the curtain on our supposed hero. In public, Sergius plays this part of the noble, romantic figure who's totally devoted to Raina. But in private, he's completely bored by his own act. He's cynical. He even admits he has like 6 different personalities. And the real him? Well, he's busy flirting with Raina's very smart and very ambitious servant, Luke.
Okay, so it's a funny play, we get it. There are romantic mix-ups and misunderstandings. But what is Shaw really trying to say with all this? Let's dig into the big ideas that are really driving this whole comedy. This is the part where we ask, why does this all matter? First and foremost, Shaw is launching this all-out assault on how we romanticize war. You gotta remember, for a Victorian audience, this was pretty shocking stuff. He's arguing that wars are won by professional soldiers with smart strategies and the right supplies, not by some handsome fool with poetic ideas about bravery. And Bluntschli, our chocolate cream soldier, he's the perfect symbol for this. He stands for the real human desire to survive, not some empty, abstract idea of dying for glory. And this battle between realism and romanticism is really the core of the play.
Shaw is basically poking fun at the popular romance novels of his time, the ones filled with all this over-the-top higher love nonsense. His point is that a good, stable society isn't built on people putting on a performance. It's built on practical, down-to-earth people who actually know who they are.
But he doesn't stop there. Shaw also takes aim at the incredibly rigid class system of the era, and he does it through the character of Luca, the servant. Luca is sharp, she's ambitious, and she completely refuses to just know her place. She sees right through all the hypocrisy of her so-called betters. And by the end, she actually manages to marry Sergius, totally shattering those social barriers. She's this incredible example of a new woman who's taking charge of her own fate.
It all leads up to the final pairings at the end, which this table sums up perfectly. Every single character throws away their romantic fantasy for a much more practical and honestly, much more suitable reality. Raina gives up on her idea of a poetic hero and ends up with Bluntschli, who turns out to be a sensible and extremely rich hotel owner. And Sergius, who could never live up to his own heroic image, finds a way better match in Luca, who is every bit as ambitious and cynical as he is.
And that's the ultimate takeaway here. The play ends with everyone getting married, not based on some flowery nonsense, but on actual compatibility and cold, hard reality. Pragmatism totally wins the day, and Shaw seems to be saying that's what a real happy ending looks like. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question for our own time, doesn't it? In a world where we all create these perfect, idealized profiles for ourselves online, where we're all performing, who is the chocolate cream soldier in your life? Who's the person that shows up and brings that dose of reality? The one who cuts through the performance and connects with who you really are. It's definitely something to think about.